frantic week that we've just experienced, but story cropped up today.
2012, the Republican Party lost the female vote by 12 points.
Las Vegas, the city of bright secrets where people get married faster than drinks are poured and forget them just as quickly. But hidden somewhere in those shiny streets is a story that's been quietly burning for many years. A story that Meghan Markle would do anything to delete. Because long before the royal names, the Netflix contracts, and the expensive Montecito house, there was Joe Giuliano, a name that's been talked about for years in the edges of Hollywood rumor groups, but never truly proven until now. And based on news sources close to the Giuliano family, the truth about that first relationship might just be the most shocking chapter of Meghan's carefully changed life. You see, Joe Giuliano wasn't some quick boyfriend or an eager Hollywood co-star. He was the man who, by all stories, first married Meghan Markle. It wasn't a royal wedding with diamonds and crowns, no photographers, no balcony waves, no fancy dresses, just a small chapel, a few signatures, and a promise that didn't last a year. But what ended that short marriage wasn't just distance or career goals. It was something far deeper, something that Joe's family saw long before the rest of the world ever would. According to one source close to Joe's mother, they loved her at first. She was charming, polite, well-spoken, but it always felt like an act, like she was trying out for something bigger. And maybe she was because even back then, Meghan wasn't happy with small-town love or quiet unknown life. Friends from that time describe a young woman who treated life like a movie, always thinking about the next scene, the next role, the next chance. She could win a room in seconds, but keeping their trust, that was another story entirely.
The feeling is that if preposterous Prince Andrew...
The Giuliano family, traditional, private, old-school Italian-American, valued loyalty above everything. Family came before fame and reputation was sacred. Joe, described as humble and kind-hearted, had grown up with those same beliefs. So, when Meghan entered their world, dazzling and ambitious, they didn't quite know what to think of her. At first, they were enchanted. Meghan had that rare magnetism, the kind of charm that made people want to be around her. But soon, little things began to bother them. One former friend recalls being at a Giuliano family dinner where Meghan was invited. She was sweet, but you could tell she was thinking hard. Every answer was too perfect. Every laugh sounded practiced, like she was watching herself from the outside, fixing her performance in real time. That description, practiced, would come up again and again. Even Joe's father reportedly told a friend, "She's got Hollywood in her eyes, and that never mixes well with marriage." And he wasn't wrong because by all stories, while Joe was planning a life, a home, maybe a family, Meghan was planning an exit. In private moments, she reportedly told friends she wanted something more, something bigger. And that something wasn't just a better job. It was a whole new identity. Around that time, Meghan was already trying her hand at modeling and acting. Her eyes were set on Los Angeles. And Joe, well, Joe represented a chapter she didn't want to carry into her future. It said that when the marriage started to fall apart, Meghan didn't just walk away. She erased everything. Photos, letters, any trace of the life they shared. She warned Joe to stay quiet. One insider claimed she told him, "If you ever talk, I'll make sure you regret it." Those close to Joe say he respected her wish, partly out of fear, partly out of sadness. He never spoke publicly, never sold his story until recently. Now, decades later, Joe Giuliano's side of the story is finally coming out. And his version of events doesn't just expose the marriage, it reveals why his entire family turned their backs on Meghan for good. According to a close family friend, the Giulianos saw through Meghan's act early on. They noticed how she spoke differently around different people, how she'd change her tone, or even her backstory depending on who was listening. One moment, she was the humble girl from California. The next, she was creating the beginnings of a self-made story that would later define her public image. But what truly broke the family's trust was an incident Joe's mother still refuses to talk about. A fight that happened just weeks before Meghan disappeared from their lives completely. It started apparently with money.
So I think going to be the problem bringing her back here, you know.
Meghan had been talking about moving to Los Angeles to pursue acting. Joe's parents, careful but supportive, offered advice, maybe even some help. But when they started asking questions about how she'd pay for the move, where she planned to stay, or who she'd be meeting, Meghan got mad. She didn't like being questioned, said one relative. It wasn't anger. It was cold, planned, like she decided that moment that they were an obstacle, not a family. Not long after that dinner, she was gone. No goodbye, no new address. Joe tried calling, writing, even driving to her old apartment. Nothing. It was as if she had vanished overnight.
Engelson took place at a beachfront resort 7 years ago.
Then a few weeks later came the envelope, a legal notice that made it official. The marriage, however short, was over. And that was that. Or at least it was supposed to be. But here's the thing. Meghan Markle's story never stays buried. Decades later, after she rose to worldwide fame as Duchess of Sussex, old friends began to come back, and some of them started asking questions about that missing year in her timeline. When reporters began looking at old Las Vegas records, they found strange gaps, sealed entries, missing documents, and a marriage log that had been lost. Coincidence? Maybe, but it fit perfectly with what the Giuliano family had been quietly saying all along, that Meghan had planned a complete erasure of her first marriage. And now, after years of silence, Joe Giuliano's voice has started to break through the static. Not loud, not scandalous, just quietly accusing. In a leaked private conversation with a friend, Joe reportedly said, "She told me once, if I ever make it big, no one will ever know you existed." And she meant it. The friend went on to claim that Joe's family felt betrayed not just by the sudden divorce, but by the planned way Meghan made sure their connection disappeared from public record. They weren't angry because she left, the source explained. They were angry because she lied, because she pretended that chapter never happened. It's one thing to move on. It's another to erase people who loved you like you were one of their own.
Andrew Morton has the world buzzing.
This morning, an explosive new biography by renowned Diana biographer Andrew Morton, giving readers an intimate view into Meghan Markle's life.
That's why, according to insiders, the Giulianos refused to have any contact with Meghan after her royal wedding. Not even a congratulations message. They'd seen her rewrite her past once before, and they knew they were part of the version of her story she wanted the world to forget. And when the royal PR machine began shaping Meghan's self-made story, the silence of the Giuliano family only made the myth stronger. But silence doesn't last forever. Now, insiders say Joe Giuliano's patience has worn thin. After years of protecting her image, watching from the sidelines as Meghan told her version of their story, one that left him out entirely, he's finally ready to tell his truth. And from what's being hinted, that truth isn't kind. In the leaked call, Joe reportedly said, "Her family didn't reject me. Mine rejected her." That line alone sent shockwaves through social media because it flips the entire story. The question isn't why Meghan left Joe. It's why Joe's family wanted nothing more to do with her. And according to what Joe is now ready to reveal, the answer might be darker and far more personal than anyone expected. Because for the Giulianos, Meghan Markle wasn't just a quick mistake. She was a warning, a storm that never stopped performing. And as one family friend put it, when she left, we didn't lose a daughter-in-law. We dodged a hurricane. But as new receipts and testimonies begin to come up, Meghan's carefully guarded past is starting to fall apart, one missing page at a time. And this time, she might not be able to silence it. When Joe Giuliano's interview hit the airwaves, Meghan Markle reportedly went crazy. Sources close to the Sussex circle claimed that she screamed when she first heard the clips. The part where Joe said, "My parents loved Meghan at first, but when the camera started rolling, she wasn't the same girl. She wanted more." That line alone sliced through Meghan's carefully created image like a knife through glass. Her entire PR empire, the soft focus rebrand, the powerful Duchess look, the wellness and wisdom vibe suddenly felt like a crumbling stage set. Joe hadn't revealed anything criminal, but he'd done something arguably worse in the court of public opinion. He'd humanized the version of Meghan she's fought to bury. In Montecito, insiders say the mood turned violent. Harry, who's grown used to dodging royal landmines, reportedly begged Meghan to stay off her phone, but Meghan, ever the planner, went straight into control the story mode. She ordered her team to draft caring statements emphasizing how difficult her past relationships were before she found true love. But that didn't work because Joe hadn't painted himself as the bitter ex. He came across as heartbroken, thoughtful, even respectful. He didn't attack. He mourned. He said things like, "I really wanted to marry her, but I think she wanted to marry the version of herself she thought she could become." It was Shakespearean, heartfelt, and devastating. Within 48 hours, the internet lit up with old photos, grainy shots of Meghan and Joe from their college days, hand in hand at NYU events, her in a thrift store coat, and him in a borrowed tux. The story practically wrote itself. The man who knew Meghan before the crown. Then came the bombshell headline that pushed Meghan over the edge. Joe Giuliano's family reveals why they rejected Meghan Markle. According to a family insider, someone who allegedly spoke to the Daily Mail, Joe's parents had grown uncomfortable with Meghan's obsession with status. His mother supposedly told friends that Meghan talked more about Hollywood than home, and that she measured success by who noticed her.
Had an interest in the royal family.
The chances of meeting the Queen are pretty slim.
Oh, the irony. That's a 15-year-old Meghan Markle on a bus tour in London.
For Meghan, that wasn't just gossip. It was embarrassment because it confirmed the one story she's always fought against. That her ambition wasn't noble. It was hungry. Inside the walls of her Montecito mansion, that discovery reportedly triggered a meltdown. Meghan was said to be pacing the floor, yelling that the press had twisted Joe's story and blaming royal workers of being behind the leak. "They're trying to make me look like I was always like this," she allegedly snapped, according to one insider. But the timing couldn't have been worse. Meghan had just been pushing to bring back her lifestyle brand, American Riviera Orchard. And now every major outlet that was supposed to feature her jam jars and floral teas was suddenly running think pieces titled "Who Was Meghan Before Harry?" The rebrand was dead before it launched. Harry, meanwhile, was torn. Publicly, he stood by her, but privately, sources say he was exhausted. He thought they'd left the tabloids behind, one former Palisade whispered. But now, every time Meghan tries to move forward, her past comes roaring back. Worse, Meghan allegedly tried to change Joe's comments, reaching out to a few friendly journalists to suggest the interview had been taken out of context, but Joe refused to play along. He went quiet, declining interviews, letting his words stand. That silence only made the damage bigger. And then came Meghan's next mistake, a televised PR sit-down meant to take back her story. It was supposed to be emotional, raw, redemptive. Instead, it came off defensive. At one point, when asked about Joe, Meghan gave a tight smile and said, "People change. Some people can't handle that." Viewers noticed the flicker in her eyes, the same one from the Oprah interview years ago, the tension between vulnerability and rage. It didn't read as empowerment. It read as control. Suddenly, Meghan wasn't the victim anymore. She was the villain of her own movie. Online, clips of her reaction trended next to Joe's calm, nostalgic tone. Comment sections filled with sympathy, not for Meghan, but for Joe. She left the guy who loved her for fame. One user wrote, "Classic Hollywood story." Even Hollywood insiders began whispering. One producer reportedly told Variety, "This Joe thing hit harder than any royal scandal. It made her human, and not in the way she wanted." By week 3, her team went into full crisis mode. The Archewell social channels went dark. Planned press events were quietly cancelled. Even her few remaining celebrity friends, the ones who used to publicly fawn over her, suddenly had scheduling conflicts. It was the one thing Meghan never expected, isolation. In desperation, she tried reaching out to Joe privately, hoping to clear the air, but according to reports, he didn't respond. That silence again spoke volumes, and it drove her over the edge.
Who was a friend, had this video of the two of them, it was like a Snapchat.
Insiders claimed that Meghan started blaming everyone, her PR handlers, Harry, even close friends, for letting this happen. But behind that anger was fear. Because Joe's story wasn't just an ex-boyfriend confession. It was a mirror. It showed the world the Meghan before the royal titles. The Meghan who'd always been chasing the next stage. As one commentator on GB News put it, Joe Giuliano didn't destroy Meghan Markle. He revealed her blueprint. That line went viral. And Meghan, who'd once been the master of a story, now found herself trapped in it. Harry reportedly begged her to lay low, to stop feeding the fire. But Meghan's pride wouldn't let her retreat. She told her team, "They want me to disappear. I'll make them choke on my silence." Yet, the silence never came. Every time she spoke, every statement she made only brought back the storm. And just like that, Joe Giuliano's quiet, wishful story had turned into Meghan Markle's loudest scandal since Meset. By the time the dust settled, Montecito felt more like a fortress than a home. Security increased, staff turnover spiked, and the tension between Harry and Meghan grew thick enough to cut with a knife. One insider summed it up perfectly. Joe Giuliano didn't just open old wounds. He reminded Meghan of who she used to be, and that's the one person she can't stand to face. And somewhere back in New York, Joe reportedly told a friend, "I just wanted to tell the truth. I didn't think it had hurt her this much, but it did. It broke her image, fractured her plans, and left her exactly where she didn't want to be. The woman everyone was suddenly talking about not to." And for Meghan Markle, that silence is the cruelest punishment of all.